Hey, sorry I'm late. Have you ever had to wait on somebody? That's what we're going to talk about today. This week in our devotional time, we are talking about time. In our first devotional, I talked about how we are to leverage our present day. Not to look too far in the future or not to live in the past, but to live for today and leverage the time that God has given us today, because time is that one thing that once we spend it, we can never get it back. The last devotional, I talked about how God has asked us to number our days so that we can live with wisdom and understanding that we really are temporal beings and that we do only have a limited time here and now. Today I want to talk to you about waiting. And sometimes we just really hate to wait, right? Sometimes we sit and that car in front of us just takes a little bit too long to get going at the green light. Sometimes we pull up to a fast food restaurant and it takes just a little bit too long for us to get our hamburger and French fries because we hate to wait. But one of the greatest gifts that God has given to us is the gift of waiting. In a couple weeks in my message, I'm going to talk about this in Abraham's life and how Abraham waited on God. It's important for us to understand as we think about this that God transcends time. Right? You and I kind of live in a timeline. We live in the present. We can look back to the past and we look forward to the future. But God transcends that timeline and He's able to look at the past, the present, and the future all at once. That's why in 2 Peter 3:8 it tells us there that a day with the Lord is like 1,000 years and 1,000 years is like a day, because God is not constrained by time. However, though, God works in time. And even though sometimes we feel like we have to wait, God is never late. That's why in Galatians chapter 4, verse 4, it tells us there that in the fullness of time, God sent forth His Son, born of a man. And here He tells us that in the fullness of time, when the time was exactly right, is when He sent Jesus into the world. Paul also tells us in Romans chapter 5, verse 6, for while we were yet sinners, at the right time, Christ died for the ungodly. You see, He came and He died just at the right time for you and I. And so today you may be waiting on God for something. You may be waiting on God in a circumstance. You may be waiting for God to fulfill a promise. You might be waiting on God to change a relationship that you're in. Understand this, that while you wait, God is never late. And as you wait, God is seeking to develop in you patience and perseverance and faith and trust. And so while you're waiting, wait patiently on God, because when you wait, God is never late.